our second session for the Vote Builder certification course hosted by the Kentucky Democratic Party. Today we're going to talk about logging into Vote Builder and some of the security features and functions that are needed to be able to log in depending upon your access level. So the first question we're going to ask and answer is, what's needed to log into Vote Builder? How do I get an account? So to log in, / get an account, you're going to have to be added to an active Vote Builder committee, or someone that is already within it, that is an administrator within the committee, needs to request that you be added to the committee to receive an account. If you are not requested to be added to the account, you can still have an action ID. You can still do voter contact and use Open Virtual Phone Bank or Minivan, but you won't be able to log into Vote Builder itself. So once you've been authorized as a user, in the back end, we will go in, create an account, which will trigger an email to be sent to you that will have the subject line, you've been invited to join whatever committee name is in Vote Builder Kentucky. You'll open that email and you will see an accept invitation link button in the email that you will click, and that will allow you to either create an account if you don't have an action ID already, or if you have an action ID, it will allow you to link up that new committee to the existing action ID you have. Once you've got all set up, so whether it's a new account or it's linked in with your action ID, you'll just be able to go to votebuilder.com and log in with your action ID and password. So I'm going to skip past those slides and we will go ahead and actually log in together. So you'll see this is votebuilder.com. And we have the screen. I was just in here, so it won't be here any long for you. You'll see log in with your action ID. I'll just refresh it for folks. So log in with your action ID. If you have autofill, it will go ahead and put that in for you. I'm going to use our training account, which is votebuilder.org. So enter your email, enter your password, hit login, and usually you might just go straight into Vote Builder. This one is associated with a couple of different accounts, so I'm going to select the one that is our training committee, hit next, and that is going to take you into Vote Builder. You will land here on the main screen and be able to start doing whatever you need to do. So fairly straightforward, fairly simple. Now we're going to go over some of the other things that are really important when getting an account and creating it. First is going to be, what is an action ID? That is probably a word a lot of folks haven't necessarily heard or don't know what we're talking about. So the way to think about an action ID is sort of a passport that lets you gain access to Vote Builder into PVAN, Minivan, Open Virtual Phone Bank, and you'll be able to link multiple accounts under a single email and password. So like you saw whenever we were logging in, there was that drop down. That means there are multiple accounts associated with that email. So if you're helping a state house candidate, a state senate candidate, a local candidate, they will all have different committees, but because you have an action ID that is a action ID that is just your email, you'll be able to access all of their committees whenever you go to log in and be able to select which one you want to go into. Hopefully that made sense to folks, but more or less, one way, it's an easy way to make sure everything is linked. You're able to get into everything you need and not have to remember 5 different passwords. So with that, the one thing I will say is all users here in Kentucky, and this is more or less the national standard, are required to have action IDs. That way our data is more secure. So like I was giving with the example, the account is tied to one person, and you should not give any other users or individuals uh, access to your action ID. This is not just highly frowned upon, this is something that could result in losing Vote Builder access and compromising our data, so please do not do that. If you need to edit your Action ID account, and this has definitely came up a lot, so let's say you buy a new phone, switch phone numbers, and your two-factor authentication, which we'll go over here in a second, is your old phone and you need it to be your new one. There are ways to do that. So, sort of like what I was saying, two-factor authentication is an additional layer of security we have for accounts here in Kentucky. If you have a higher profile level, so level 1 through 4, you're going to be required to set up two-factor authentication. Honestly, you should set up two-factor regardless of your access level. That way, if something happens, you will, if something weird happens, someone will not be able to get into your account because you'll get a two-factor authentication text, or you'll be able to enter it in and keep our data more secure. So there are several types of two-factor that we have. The most secure and the recommended method is going to be an authenticator app. So things like Google Authenticator, Okta Verify, LastPass, and Authy are a few of those. Authy is one that's recommended if you're in a rural area and don't have a Wi-Fi connection or don't have good Wi-Fi connection. You can download it right onto the desktop of your computer and use it without the internet. A less secure and reliable way is a text message to your primary phone or even a backup phone. One of the reasons we say this is less reliable is there were many times during this cycle that there were long delays in that text being received as people were logging into Vote Builder due to the vendor that NGP Van was using having some issues with their system. One other one, and this is a one-time and one-time only type of thing, so unless it's an emergency, don't use it. Backup codes. So let's say, for instance, and I think I was hitting on this earlier, if you need to change your Action ID because you've changed phone numbers, and your two-factor authentication device was a SMS text to your old phone, you would be able to go into your Action ID, edit it, put in one of those backup codes to be able to reset your Action ID to have your new phone number. So let's sort of go over the process of setting up two-factor authentication really quick. So I'm going to go back over here into this screen, and you're going to see we're going to go to, okay, wrong thing, accounts.ngpvan.com, and I'm going to say, let's just log out of this. So again, we're going to use my training one at KentuckyDemocrats.org. So you'll go and log in, and once you log in, you'll get this screen on the Action ID page. So your email address, name, phone number, the ability to change your password, what the two-factor authentication status is. So if we needed to change this, we would just be able to hit Edit Profile. We could type in a phone number if we wanted. We can also go here to two-factor, enable it, and we'll go through a process of how do you want to set this up? Do you want to use your Authenticator app? Do you want to set it up with a phone number? So if you do an Authenticator app, you will just take your phone, uh, go into that Authenticator app, scan this QR code. It will register you as setting it up, and it'll have a 6-digit number that you will enter. So 14444. This is obviously fake, and you'll hit enable. If you want to do a setup with a text, very similar. You'll put in your phone number here. So let me see if I can get us set up with one really quick. 210 8902678. So go ahead and send a code, and we will see if we get this. I might not. Does not look like my phone app is going to pick up the text. But once we got that code, like I said, with how we were setting up the Authenticator app, we would just type it in, 4444, hit verify. Of course, I just put in a random number. But once you get verified, it would give you a verified screen, and you would be all set up. And I'm going to go ahead and log out of this and go back. So you'll see we sort of went through this in these screens. And then the screen that we didn't get to see, once we hit verify, we would be taken back to our main profile. We would see two-factor authentication is enabled. Not if it's not enabled with an Authenticator app, but it is with a phone number, and we would be all set in creating, enabling two-factor authentication. So some common issues that you might run into that I have definitely hinted at or mentioned directly here in the last few minutes is if you get a new phone or phone number, I've definitely seen sometimes that we've had to request accounts be reset due to the two-factor authentication not coming through. So if you get a new phone and you're using an Authenticator app, you should be able to transfer the information from between phones. If you get a new phone number, that's a little trickier. So sort of like I said, if you have one of those backup phone numbers, or either a backup phone number or a backup code, you'll be able to use that to get into Vote Builder and put in your new phone number. When it comes to your backup codes, keep it somewhere safe and accessible. I would suggest LastPass as notes. That way you know where it's at all times. And then if a text message isn't coming through, it's going to be an issue with the vendor that Van is using, most likely. You can use backup codes to access the account and switch an Authenticator app if that happens. Again, Authenticator app is probably the best option to use. That way you're not at the mercy of a texting vendor that might be having issues. So security notes, when it comes to whether or not, or when it comes to whether you might have to have your account reset, that is not something that the state administrator's permissions are able to do. So if that happens, I am not able to do it. No one with the state party is able to do that. No one at the DNC is able to do that. It is solely going to be the NGP account or NGP support team that is able to do that. And to make that as easy as possible, the best way is to send an email to votebuilder@kydemocrats.org that does the following things. So when you're sending the email, you need to describe the problem. Hey, I got a new phone and a new phone number, couldn't carry the two-factor over, or my two-factor was a text, and I've changed my phone number, so I can't get those anymore. And you need to, after describing that problem, go ahead and explicitly state that the NGP Van support team has permission to reset the account. So due to this, due to this issue, I need the NGP van support team to reset my account, and they have permission to do so. Something like that. After that email is received, that will be sent to their support team. As long as all the pertinent information's in there, their support team can usually reset the account within 3 to 5 business days. If all of the information isn't provided in that email, there will probably be some emails traded back and forth to make sure all the information is captured. So again, try and make sure you're giving all of that in the very first email to expedite things. So with that, that is a overview of logging into VoteBuilder, getting an account, logging in, using two-factor authentication. There will be a quiz, like the first course we had. Users need to get a 75% or higher on that. And then once that happens, you will have access to the next portion, which is going to be the third. You'll have the third course. So with that, I will go ahead and let everyone go, and look forward to talking with folks on our next call. Thanks, and have a good rest of your day.